In this episode, we talk about when the right time to buy and sell is. Hello and welcome to episode 23 of Real Estate TV. Very excited to bring you today's episode. We're actually talking about when the right time to buy and sell in property is, and it's a tough one to pick. And I want to give a shout out to someone called Gemma who actually reached out to me on Instagram to ask this question, and I thought it was actually a really good question. So I decided to make today's episode off the back of that. And I just want to again encourage you guys, if you do have any questions, ask me them. It's much better if I'm answering questions in these vlogs rather than just coming up with topics on my own. But on that note, we're going to get straight on in. So it might sound like obvious advice if you've been in property for a while now, but the right time to buy property is in a tough market, and the right time to sell property is in a really, really good market. So it can be quite tough to pick the market. I've done an episode on reading the market in the past. It was episode 3 of Real Estate TV, and I discussed how reading the market is a case of working out the supply and demand ratio. So you work out how many properties are on the market at the moment and how many sold in the last 12 months, and you can go back and watch the video because I talk about it in a lot more depth than what I just described then. But you can work out what sort of market we're in, from a boom market, which is just really freaking hot, to a bust market, which is when people are lining up outside soup kitchens. Really, really bad time to be trying to sell property. But on that note, it is the perfect time to be looking to buy a property. We're in the process of the moment at looking at some project sites, and it has been quite a turbulent market. And we're actually lamenting the fact that we didn't buy 6 months ago. We just went in the market at the time, so it is what it is. But we would have absolutely loved to have bought 6 months ago. Just because everything's cheap, and days on market mean that the price goes down inevitably, unless you've got someone that isn't that motivated to sell. But that's when you really should be buying. If you don't want to put in the research and work out what the situation is with the market from an actual data point of view, if you're seeing headlines like, and again, I wouldn't ever recommend you be a headline reader. I'd recommend you actually get in and work out what the data is. But if you do want to be a headline reader, bubbles about to burst, or not bubbles about to burst because that means it's a hot market. I'd say anything like people aren't buying houses, property record lows, crash in market, anything that's a sort of a doom title and insinuates that we're in the midst of it, perfect time to be buying. But I'd say during a booming market, if you're trying to work it out, have a chat with real estate agents. I know that's not a popular thing to say, but have a chat with real estate agents. They may not always give you an honest answer, so ask a couple what the market is. If you're buying in Melbourne, reach out to me. I'm happy to give my 2 cents worth. And I'm also happy to recommend you off to a couple of people that specialize in the suburb that you're looking at, to give you a good idea. That's how you pick when is the right time to buy and the right time to sell. So thank you for that question, Gemma. At the back end of last episode, I was going live on TikTok, and I am again, and I am going to get up and check the questions. But we had a couple of questions that came in after I'd stopped filming and packed up everything, and I'm going to answer them now. So let me remember what they were. Why did I decide to move into this place rather than renting out? And the reason was because I could take advantage of the full first home owners grant. So you get 10 grand from the government, and you don't pay stamp duty, but you have to live in it for 12 months within the first 12 months. So that's why I decided to move in, because it ended up being about $40,000 better off for me. But if you were in a regional area and you were buying a property around the 550 mark, it could be up to $70,000 better off for you living in it, because you've got the $20,000 first homeowners grant out there, and 8.5% of 550 works out at about 50 grand. So that's about 70 grand, which is huge. I mean, that's nothing to be sneezed at all. But as I said earlier, we have been live throughout this recording on TikTok. And I've asked the guys on TikTok if they want to put any questions in. I fear we may have a repeat of yesterday's episode when no one put any questions in until after, but that's okay. I'm just going to jump up there and have a look. As suspected, we had no comments, but that's okay. If you have a question about property, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter. My handle is Andy J. Pater. Hit me up and let me know what your question is, and I will answer it at the back end of the next episode of Real Estate TV. But other than that, it's been a nice short episode today, which I kind of... Something sounds like it's vacuuming outside. That's okay. It's been a nice short episode of Real Estate TV. I hope you guys got something out of this one. If you did, let me know down below in the comments. Your feedback would be fantastic. If you've got someone who is looking at buying a home, maybe share this episode around with them and let them know that we exist. I mean, we put out tons of advice almost daily. It might just change the way they see things. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you on next episode.